Hello everyone. I'm going to tell you about a game today. It's a chess variant called double chess. And the rules are the same as for chess apart from one rule, which is that any piece can behave like a king in that it can be checked. If it's unprotected, we're receiving a check. So in this case, this bishop is unprotected. It's now under check. This pawn is also in check. This is a double check situation. Only way to protect would be find some way to protect both pieces. So now there's no check on the board. And you can't move into check, of course. The other thing, preliminary, remind ourselves about the rule for pinning. If you have a piece pinned, such as this knight now pinned, it cannot move because of this threat from the rook on the king. That piece can still provide a check. So in other words, the black king cannot move to this square even though this knight is pinned. So a pinned piece still can provide a check to other squares. So let's look at a game. You'll see how this goes. You'll notice that it leads to a requirement for double attacks and double defense, hence the name double chess. So we have e4, knight to f6, check now on the undefended pawn. e5, d6, check again on this pawn, and defending with d4. And you see here this position is locked up. This pawn cannot capture here because it's undefended. This would be moving into check. This pawn cannot capture. This also would be moving into check. So black brings in this knight to c6. Now this pawn could be captured. White defends this. Black tries to push h5. h4 is the response. b6. Bishop to b5. Now this comes with check because this piece is not defended. So black has to deal with this. He brings the queen, d7. White continues to attack this knight. This is something of a blunder though. Black now has this move. Knight takes e5. And this comes with check on the bishop because this bishop is undefended. Cannot take the queen, of course, because this would be moving into check. So white has to defend this. a4. Black continues the attack with a6. Now this knight wants to retreat, but it can't go here because this is moving into check from this knight. It can't go here because this is blocking the defense of this pawn, which is under attack by this knight. It has to retreat all the way to e2. Black can continue the attack here, and white can capture. He's on defense by this bishop. Now black cannot capture with this pawn because this would be moving into check. His knight would be under fire from this knight. Sorry, his undefended rook would be under the fire of this rook. So instead the queen can recapture, and it cannot be captured here. But white can continue to harass this queen. Now the queen could be captured. It's under a double attack. So the queen moves. Now it's only under a single attack, protected by this knight. So white continues to attack the queen with rook to a4. Queen now goes to g4, and this comes with tempo on the undefended g2 pawn, on which white counters by protecting. Now black can find no way to continue this attack immediately. He brings another bishop into the game, but this allows white to play bishop to b5 check. And this is a little dangerous. If black were to block with the bishop here, then white would capture, and this would be checkmate. There'd be two checks that black could not defend. So black does not do this, of course. Continues with c6. White captures, decaptures c6. Black captures pawn with bishop on And at this point, it looks like black has countered the attack. This bishop could be captured. White doesn't have much move. However, he can defend by bringing the queen in. And the queen... Black agrees to this trade of bishops. Bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop. And this comes with check. And this is another dangerous situation. If black were to block with a knight, for example, this would lead to queen to b7 checkmate. Now this rook is unprotected and it cannot move because it's pinned, protecting this pawn. So that would be checkmate. So black does not do this, of course. Instead he brings his queen back to protect. And now it looks like black has again protected the threat, because this queen is now under attack, could be captured. And white cannot, in turn, capture this queen. However, black has rook takes on a6. And now the queen can no longer be captured because the square is no longer protected. And this rook is under check. The rook has to move. And now white has knight takes e5. Black cannot recapture because the queen is protecting. And this queen is doomed. Black moves in to protect. Knight takes queen. Knight takes knight. And now comes knight to d5. This comes with the threat of knight to c7 checkmate. So black needs to make a square for the king to survive this. A better choice would have been the e pawn, but he moves the f pawn. And white continues with knight to c7 check. Black has to move to f7. And now white has rook to a8 check on black's undefended rook. And in fact, this is checkmate because this rook is also pinned and protecting this knight. The rook cannot move out of the way. It would leave this knight hanging. So this is checkmate. So that's a game of double chess. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to thank Agadmator and his YouTube channel for renewing my interest in chess. I'll put a link in the description below. And please let me know what you think, if you can play this game, if it's a little too much for you, or if it gives you some new insight into the game. That would be fantastic. See you next time.